Okay, I call this meeting of the Monomoy Regional School Committee to order at 6:33. And the first item of business is the approval of the meeting minutes. Are there any corrections? Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And at this time, we have public comment. And Mr. Mon, would you like to speak?
Please. Thank you. Thank you for recognizing me. My name is Jackman. My wife and Amy and I have 3 kids who have come through the district. We graduated a senior last year. We have a junior and a sophomore. And I want to tell you that we have been thrilled that our kids have had the opportunity to enjoy a brand new school in a brand new school district. It's been a very, very positive experience for us so far. I can't imagine that our children in any other school system, public or private, than Monomoy. Dr. Carpenter, I appreciate your efforts and your stewardship during these past several years, and I recognize that you have a very difficult job. Ladies and gentlemen of the school committee, thank you for your dedication and your oversight of this school district. To Principals Burkhead, Wilson, Aldak, and Millen, I certainly appreciate and applaud you for your continual efforts and for your kind, caring, and compassionate approach to learning. Doctors, lawyers, nurses, firefighters, police officers, all very important jobs. The contact with anyone in these professions can have a profound impact on your life. These are important jobs to be sure. But if you're lucky, you may only see your doctor once a year. And if you're lucky, maybe you only need a lawyer when you close on a new home or when you're planning your estate. If you're lucky, maybe you can avoid a trip to the hospital, maybe not. But hopefully, you only require the care of a nurse a couple times in your lifetime. Hopefully, you don't need the fire department to bring you to the hospital or to respond to your house for a house fire. Many of you will never interact professionally with a police officer in your entire lives. Maybe you get stopped for speeding, maybe something worse, but hopefully it's not the routine. All of these jobs are very important, they're very critical, and they're vital. But none of them are as important as teaching, because teaching is the most important job. It's the most important job in this community. It's the most important job in this state. It's the most important job in this nation, and arguably, it's the most important job in the world. Unlike with these other important jobs, all of us and all of our children spend more time in the presence of teachers than we do with doctors, lawyers, nurses, firefighters, or police officers. For at least 180 days a year, from kindergarten to high school graduation and beyond. For many of us, our kids spend more time in the collective presence of our teachers than they do with us as parents. Think about that. It's true. If your children are active at school and then they are active before and after school, by the time you get them home, feed them, hopefully help them with their homework and get them to bed, you've spent maybe 2 hours a day with them. And that's not true of our teachers, who spend much more time with them. When our oldest first started school, I thought teachers should just teach my kid how to read, write, and do math, and my wife and I will raise them. And I've come to realize that that was a very narrow, uninformed, and naive oversimplification on my part. Think about what we ask our teachers to do today. We ask them to teach, we ask them to care, we ask them to encourage, we ask them to console. We expect them to feed our kids in some respects, in some places, sometimes. We expect them to supply our children. We expect them to nourish them emotionally. We demand that they teach to a test. We demand that they get more training. We demand that they have a master's degree. We expect them to develop our kids mentally and socially and emotionally. We expect them to be lunch monitors and recess monitors. We expect them to be family counselors. We expect them to be creative and energetic. We expect them to come in early, and we expect that they'll all stay late. And this doesn't include the teachers who stay late to direct the school play or conduct the school band, or the teachers that are coaches, or the teachers that arrange school trips to Washington, D.C., to New York City, to the Dominican Republic, and the teachers that arrange field trips to the Museum of Science and to the Freedom Trail. And then there's Truro. We expect these teachers to do this, and they do it. We are asking them to raise our kids. Where does it stop? How much more can we ask? We keep raising the expectations. We keep expanding the job description. And then we reward them with a contentious contract negotiation. And then we wonder why maybe they feel a little underappreciated and maybe even a little disrespected. We ask far too much of our teachers. Teaching is the most important job in this community. It is the most important job in the state. It's certainly the most important job in this nation. And I think you can make the argument that it is the most important job in the world. Teaching is the noblest of professions, and the title of teacher is the noblest of titles. Let's show them that they are appreciated and valued and respected. From where I'm standing, they're not asking for a lot. Let's give them what they want, and let's end these negotiations. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
And could you state your name?
Yes. Matt Barnes. I'm a STEM teacher at, if I recall, the only level 1 middle school on Cape Cod. I didn't have to say it, I just like hearing it. And I'm going to take a different perspective, I think, than maybe some of the talks, because I just got my ID card from the photos. And every time I get one of these, I feel like a sense of pride. They let me do this again. Of course, I want to talk to the photo company because the guy on it looks very old now, much different from when I started. But sorry about it. I sound like I'm trying to do the Ben Affleck Batman, but I think I caught Mr. Newby's cold when he and I were in a car for 10 hours last week. He and I did the conference circuit. We were able to present at MassQ and Mass Tech. And now we get fan mail. We get fan mail from districts who have renowned STEM programs. And the mail says they want to come visit to see what we're doing. They want to be more like us. These are districts that are, we had a trip yesterday where our administrators visited one of them because of their STEM program, but their middle school wants to be more like us. For those of you who are thinking about how much 10 hours in a car costs on mileage, don't worry. The district doesn't pay for that because they didn't ask me to go. The conference invited me. But we're very successful right now. It reminds me of a movie I show in my class about failure. It's about Honda, about their racing program, and how terrible it was when it started. They found, they made changes every year. And after just a few years, they won races. Then they won the division. I'm presuming at that point, they didn't nickel and dime the engineers, and they didn't try to throw a wrench into it. They found things that worked and pushed on from there. I feel like the district is in a really good place, and this is the wrong time to have a brawl over small things. So if I were planning something like this, I would make sure that I didn't ask for, I didn't try to change how people were doing things if things were going really well. And I wouldn't ask for concessions after a lot of success. So we'll collect the fan mail. We'll continue to do our jobs. We'll continue to show up early. I showed up early today, showed up early yesterday, stayed late today. I'll be in early tomorrow. And we're going to keep doing that because it's not fair to the kids not to. But it's also not fair to the folks who are doing this. We're making this district a really great district. It is a really great district. And if it were to be, derailed at this point, some people are angry but I would just be disappointed. We have it. It's good. Let's not mess it up. Thank you.
State your name, please.
Good evening, my name's Amy Mica. I am a grade 5 teacher at Monomoy Middle School. I have taught in the Monomoy Regional School District for 12 years. I've had the benefit of teaching over 300 students through the course of those years, and each of those young learners has had a profound effect on me. And in turn, I think I've had the similar effect on them as well. I think of my colleagues and the students I have had the joy of teaching each day as my Monomoy family. I spend a great deal of time with them, I'm inspired by them, and I value them. Often my own family, unfortunately, takes a back seat due to my commitment. Oftentimes I come home with piles of paper to correct in the evenings and over the weekends. I spend time planning lessons that will motivate my students and volunteer my time to enrich these experiences of the students as well. I know my Monomoy family is equally committed and finds themselves in the very same situation. I take great pride in my work and in all of the colleagues and students that I call my Monomoy family, and I ask you tonight to please respect us, our commitment to the district, to the students, and agree to a contract that values our dedication. Thank you for your time.
Is that it? Okay. Before going on with the meeting, as chair, I feel the need, I must react to the statements that have been made by Sherry Armstrong, who has been a spokesperson for the Monomoy Teachers Association in previous weeks and those this week. Out of respect for the negotiating and bargaining process, I have remained silent, and even now will not discuss the specifics of collective bargaining. However, by saying the school committee has a lack of respect for our teachers is far from the truth. Just because the school committee has not agreed to proposals made by the Monomoy Regional Education Association is not a lack of respect. It is our role to make sure that we continue to offer high-quality programs for all of Monomoy's students. And we, as taxpayers too, must balance this within the fiscal wherewithal of our towns. We are supportive of proposals that advance learning and student outcomes. There is no lack of respect in the committee's support of level staff budgets over the past years to keep high-quality programs in place and to promote ever-improving student outcomes. Going into mediation is, as part of the negotiations process, is the complete opposite of being disrespectful. It is respecting the opinions of both the Monomoy Regional Education Association and the school committee. The school committee has seen other school district salary grids and understands how Monomoy's compares to each across a teacher's career. The school committee is well aware of the impact of health insurance costs on the district's annual budget, and that we currently augment staff compensation with one of the best health insurance benefits on the Cape. The school committee is well aware that our teachers have the fewest number of work days of Cape Cod teachers. There is no lack of respect in the committee's support of keeping Monomoy's total per diem compensation for teachers at or above the Cape's average. The school committee has seen last year's accountability ratings for Monomoy's elementary and middle schools to be impressive. The outcomes of all students for the Monomoy's K-8 are amongst the Cape and the state's best. For the sake of our children, the committee hopes to see Monomoy's High School meet these outcomes too. There is no lack of respect from the committee, from the committee in questioning anything correlated to our high school's low accountability percentiles, including the 6% score for the lowest performing high school students, the struggling learners that JOSM was ideally meant to support. Our regional school district must operate within the budget of our two towns, and we are provided guidance from select boards and finance committees. There is no lack of respect when the school committee communicates the fiscal wherewithal of our towns. If nothing else, this committee has and will support teachers, support staff, and administrators 100%. Personally, prior to retirement, I was a public school teacher for more than 3 decades. I know what frustrations can occur from the negotiations process. But one thing I did learn, and Sherry articulated in one of her comments, was that we all want a respectful settlement. That is, and has always been, the school committee's focus. I'm done. All right, with that.
Two more, Bess.
Okay, would you come and state your name, please?
My name is Holly Evans.
Excuse me just a minute, is that out of order?
Technically, public comment was, but
Yeah.
you can allow it if you want.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Holly Evans. I'm a junior here at Monomoy. And I like to say that I'm proud to be a student here. Proud of the sports that I play, the clubs that I do, the classes I take, but most of all, the teachers that have influenced me in more ways than just a standard curriculum. See, when I first was brought into the high school in 8th grade, I remember there being assemblies being held to aid our induction into high school life. They were essentially what were meant to make us comfortable and excited to be a part of this community. In remembering this, I recall the strongest emphasis always being, and we have the best teachers around. This was a phrase to be repeated over and over again throughout that year and those following. There was nothing to disprove this statement, for I did find that we have some of the best teachers I have ever encountered. Teachers that go the extra mile to include students, to adapt to their learning styles, to lift them up if they're having a rough time. They are also innovative and found ways to assist us in learning. One of these innovations included the old JOSM, and speaking from a student-athlete's perspective, this was one of the most beneficial parts of the school day. We were able to catch up, seek help from eager teachers, and just take a quick break, which was much needed for students like me who don't often have much time in a day to stop and take a breath for a second. With my friends and me taking AP and honors classes, ever since the end of this JOSM, it has been difficult to maintain the same grades and just find a little time to relax. Stress levels have been through the roof, my sleep schedule has been poor, and I have skipped eating on more than one occasion to do what I deem necessary for the school the next day. With constant rising expectations set by those who run the school, it is greatly appreciated to just have one constant throughout the day we knew that we could rely on. And in saying this, I will leave you with one question that brings me back to a previous point. If the pride and joy of this school, what really makes it a home away from home, is our students and our teachers, which this school claims to have the best of, then why don't we treat them that way? Thank you.
Your name, please?
Amy Heinz Lee. Hi, I'm Amy Heinz Lee. I'm a sophomore here at Monomoy. I'm an officer, student council, a member of multiple other clubs, and I also an athlete playing field hockey during the fall season and run spring track. I'm so glad that I've made the decision to stay in this district. I found in my past years that what keeps kids in Monomoy is the teachers. Teachers are a big part of our lives. as we spend more than 6 hours every day with them, and each and every one of my teachers has impacted me in my life some way. Ours here at Monomoy Regional High School do more than they need to, so that they ensure each and every one of the students is reaching their full potential. They are the reason that our graduation rate went up so much, and the reason that so many students succeed in their academics. One of the things that helped both the teachers and the students, such as myself, was JASM. I know that this is a topic brought up recently, but isn't an important one. It was especially essential for many students who participate in extracurriculars. We have a lot of these at Monomoy Regional High School, which is why JASM was so crucial for both the students and teachers. It was a great way to get work done, eat, relax, and de-stress. Mental health is extremely important, especially due to the fact that mental illnesses such as depression are so common at the high school level. Stress and anxiety are major contributors to these issues. JASM was a great outlet to relieve this stress and anxiety. I hope you think about all these factors as you are negotiating the teachers' contracts. We, the students, stand behind our teachers. Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to end the comments because I thought they had ended before, but anyway, we're going to move on with the agenda. And at this time, I would ask the student representative to come forward.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
There's a lot of news to report today, as October was a very, very busy month here at MRHS. On October 2nd, we welcomed about 75 members of the Harwich and Chatham Newcomers Club into the building. They were given tours of the building by the peer leads class and were each given a 620 card to show that they were important too. They were very impressed with the cleanliness of the building and how well behaved and hardworking our students were. On Monday, October 8th, was the second annual Monomoy All Sports Booster Club golf tournament held at Cranberry Valley Golf Course. The proceeds went to the Monomoy All Sports Booster Club to help all sports programs pay for the equipment not covered under the athletic budget. Many students and families from the school district, as well as other community members, came to play. About 30 student athletes donated their time early in the morning to help set up for the event. October 7th through 13th was Teen Read Week, a national adolescent literacy initiative that encourages teenagers to become avid readers. Throughout the week, our local public librarians from Brooks Free Library and Eldridge Library were outside the school library during lunch hour to help students sign up for or replace their library cards. Homecoming and Spirit Week, which ran from October 9th through October 12th, was the main attraction of the month. Each day of the week had a different theme for students to dress up as to show their spirit. This year's themes included ER Day, where students dressed up as a profession or person whose title ends in ER, Monomoy Day, Pajama Day, and Color Wars. This year, Spirit Week was a friendly competition between the grades. Grades earned points based on how many students were dressed as each day's theme, as well as how well they decorated their team rooms. Capture the Flag and Powder Puff football took place on Wednesday of that week. Students in all grades were able to participate in a series of games of Capture the Flag. Following that, the junior girls played the senior girls in the annual Powder Puff game, with the senior girls coming out on top 35-0. On Friday afternoon, all students attended the homecoming pep rally where the school's varied interests were showcased. Ladies a cappella, select choir, and the band all shared their musical talents with the student body. Sports teams and clubs put on skits or short dance performances. The 5 teacher judges voted girls soccer as having the best performance, which was very well choreographed and very impressive. At the end of the pep rally, the judges announced which class had won the most points throughout the week. The juniors took first place, and the seniors took second place. Friday night was the highly anticipated homecoming football game. Unfortunately, Monomoy had a tough loss against West Bridgewater, but a huge Monomoy student section came out to support their team. The exciting week culminated on Saturday night with the homecoming dance, the theme of which was Starlit Forest. A big thank you to the Spirit Club who organized the incredible week. On October 11th, the senior class participated in the Credit for Life Fair. The fair, which was put on by Cape Cod 5, aims to help students understand the financial responsibilities they will have once they leave home and no longer have their parents covering their expenses. Each student selected a career and then had to manage their monthly budget based on their salary. Careers included marine biologists, physical therapists, nurses, sports managers, nonprofit workers, and engineers. Students visited booths where they learned about what they would have to pay for each month, including food, housing, clothing, additional education or training, entertainment, and insurance. Booths were staffed by Cape Cod 5 employees, local business employees, and community members. At the end of the fair, students visited the credit counseling table to discover whether or not they had budgeted their money wisely and if they had any left over at the end of the month. I think all of the seniors can agree that this event was very eye-opening and informative. On October 16th, the Key Club welcomed the Thirst Project, a nonprofit organization aimed at bringing safe drinking waters to communities around the globe, to give an interactive presentation to all interested students about the global water crisis and steps we can take to end it. The students learned that in some areas of the world, people must walk around 4 miles a day to get water. They carry their water home in 5-gallon buckets called jerry cans. Students had the opportunity to try to carry a jerry can filled with water and roughly weighing 45 pounds across the room. This really put things into perspective, as most students could hardly walk across the room with it, let alone 4 miles every day. Key Club is now brainstorming ways to fundraise to donate money to the global water crisis. Key Club also received a generous donation from the Harwich Cranberry Festival for all the time and hard work they put in helping local artists and craftsmen set up for craft shows over the summer and for the Cranberry Festival in September. Key Club intends to use this donation to help fund their trip to the District Education Conference in Springfield, Massachusetts in the spring. On the evening of October 17th, the Harlem Wizards visited the high school as a fundraiser for the class of 2022. The Wizards put on an exciting show that was open to the community, and then MRSD, students, teachers, and staff had the opportunity to play against them. Last week, Ms. Hoff's World Language and Culture class received pen pals from Russia and Greece. The students are enjoying getting to converse with friends from across the globe and exchange information about each other's unique cultures. Last Friday, Monomoy High School's MIAA student ambassadors Maggie Dever and Sarah Babb attended the Fall Huddle, a meeting of all the student ambassadors in the state. They brought with them socks collected at the high school throughout the month of October. 2,200 pairs of socks were collected at the event for people in need. Oak Street Academy, Monomoy's alternative learning program, took a visit to Chatham Fish Pier to learn about the life of a fisherman and all of the hard work and early mornings that go into it. In athletic news, there were many big wins for the Sharks in the past month. Girls soccer beat Sturgis's 2-0 for their senior night on Tuesday. Boys soccer had big wins against Cape Cod Academy, as well as Sturgis West. Boys golf had victories against Rising Tide and Cape Cod Academy. And senior captain Ian Johnson represented Monomoy at the MIAA Division III sectional at Dennis Highlands on October 22nd. Cross country beat Cape Cod Academy and had an impressive race against Rising Tide, where 11 runners ran their personal best times. Field hockey defeated Bishop Fenwick and Sturgis West. Football took the victory against Avon Holbrook with a score of 50-12. And finally, Abigail Higgins, senior captain of girls soccer, and Stephen Young, junior captain of boys cross country, were named the Scholar Athletes of the Month for September.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Okay. Dr. Carpenter, recognitions?
I have 3 quick ones. I'd like to thank Barbara Giordano, Harwich community member who donated arts and crafts supplies to the district, Barbara Bracken, who donated golf equipment to the middle school golf team, and finally the Art of Charity, which provided a grant for our high school history teacher, David Alexander, for the AP Government and Politics. Was a $400 grant. So thank you to the Art of Charity.
Okay, thank you. And Liz Arco? Mostly what you had. A few other additions.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Liz Argo. I'm the manager of Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative. And I'm here tonight to talk about this year's accomplishments, last year fiscal year's accomplishments, and to also ask for another what we call round one adder, which I will describe. And I also want to note some initiatives that are going on right now that the school district may want to participate in. So in your packet, and sorry I don't have enough for the audience, but this was in your packet previously, talks about the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, and I know you have a long night, and this is a tough night, obviously, so I'll be brief. But we were founded by the Cape Light Compact, our sister organization, in 2007. We have currently four CVEC PV photovoltaic initiatives. We have a small round that are our roof mounts on many, many schools around the Cape and Martha's Vineyard. Round one, which you see on your landfills, which is our large ground-mounted photovoltaic installations, solar installations. Round two, roofs and municipal properties. And now we have a round three, which is ongoing right now, which is another megawatt. Excuse me. Those are all roof mounts as well. We've also been able to bring forward net metering credit sales, which Monomoy School District in particular benefits from. We have 3 photovoltaic and 1 wind project, which is the wind project in particular has benefited Monomoy greatly. We've been providing consultancy management services because some of these transactions are complex, and with the towns who are dealing with multiple accounts, having somebody to take that on has been a big benefit, so we're providing those services. And a big announcement that will be upcoming at a press conference next week is that at the end of FY18, CVEC had provided savings to all of our members and participants over $10 million. So that's a huge accomplishment. And of course, sadly, or maybe necessarily, we always forget that there's a correlation between that dollar savings and what we're accomplishing by way of reducing greenhouse gases, which is really critical for us here on the Cape. As we enter the storm season, starting this weekend, you know, we're watching our beaches and basically our landmass dwindle. So the more we can do in this area, the better off we'll be. Additionally, coming in 2019, we were awarded a grant for a battery project to accompany a PV project that exists now at DY High. That's an emergency shelter during the storm events. The battery will go in and it will help support both the PV and the diesel generators, so that when we have a really bad storm event, you can't pump the gas, the fuel to keep the diesel generators going, you can turn to the photovoltaics. So it extends the life of these facilities, their reliability. We have a grant for a microgrid to go in at the Oak Bluffs Camp landfill. And we're looking at community solar, which will help our residents, local people, get a crack at getting solar if they don't have a roof or the finances to afford their own installation. So those are the ongoing efforts for this year. So what I'm really here to talk about today is the round one adder request. We have been with you in FY18 and FY19 to ask for one. We had budgeted in such a way that our round two projects were to carry us forward as we maintained and managed round one. It was not the case. Round two went from 25 megawatts to just 16. And the financial income from that went down as well. We came around and we asked you for a half a penny per kilowatt hour to help CVEC close a debt of $100,000 for the last 2 years, which everybody agreed to. There are 15 of you that would have to have agreed. So unfortunately, we have done a huge amount of belt tightening. Our debt now projected for FY20 is down to $36,000. So that's the good news. The bad news is that we still need some support from our participants, particularly those who are benefiting from round one, which Monomoy is one of. But we're only looking now for a quarter penny. So, and for an off-taker, which is what Monomoy is, it's more like 1/8 of a penny. And in total, the cost to you is about $250 next year. And in the meantime, excuse me for my sniffles, I handed out a sheet that was in your package on the next page that shows, and this is my update as well for you for this year, Monomoy schools in FY17, going in the top box, going from left to right, kilowatt hours, and then some information about how the calculations are made. But ultimately, the farthest right-hand column says your net benefit. And in FY17, your net benefit from participating in the CVEC projects was $38,000. FY18, which is the year, of course, we just finished, it has gone up to almost $66,000. That's because of the wind project and some other projects which have come online. So pointing out, essentially what I'm pointing out is that your income level from CVEC is at that level. We're asking if we can hit you for $236 to close our budgetary deficits. So that's the main reason I'm here tonight. But in the meantime, I also wanted to draw your attention to the fact that we are doing our next PV initiative. On the last page of your handout is a pro forma that is a similar presentation I made before. We are in this next PV initiative, we will be building roof mounts, photovoltaics on roofs, and solar canopies for parking lots. And I know Monomoy has wanted to do its own photovoltaic installation, whether it's on the roof or in a solar canopy situation. I ran some numbers here based on a roof installation, and indeed, if you would start down that road, the benefits based on the last initiative that CVEC went forward with, you could see an annual benefit of $91,000 in the first year. There is a cost to that, upfront legal and administrative costs of about $5,000, so it's more like $85,000. But nonetheless, as you can see, the benefits from doing solar are considerable, and I know you're aware of it, you've discussed it, so this is not a campaign, it's just a note to you that round 4 for CVEC is starting. We have multiple participants. There's a lot of fire stations that have been built over the last year that are participating, as well as some other schools. The Martha's Vineyard School will be participating, etc. So ultimately, I would love to entertain any questions, and then I would help you with the motion that we're looking for. So any questions on the last year's results? Yes.
I have a question. I thought I was following this, but what I don't understand is if for 2017 and 2018 we have these net profits of $38,000 and $65,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why are there budget deficits?
For CVEC? They're for the Cape and Vineyard Electric
Like
Cooperative.
you were asking for $236.
And that's for our operating expenses. So the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative collects an operational adder on most of the projects. We excluded the round 1 projects, and that's where our deficit has come from. So we have had to go back to our participants. The contracts did not speak of any kind of support by way of an operational adder for these round 1 projects. We do collect them on round 2, and all of the projects that you're benefiting from, like Future Generation Wind and Nexamp and Marie's Way. But in this case, in round 1, there was no adder, so we are asking to impose an adder. It's not big money for you, but for
that's why I was surprised
that I have to come back?
Yeah.
Well, it's bigger money for others who have more projects in round 1. For instance, Harwich, you can see here, is at the top. They have a system on their cap landfill. It's 4 megawatts that was able to be placed on in the round 1 initiative. They're getting significant money. They're getting about $400,000 a year. but they're also going to have to pay $2,000 to support CVEC through the adder. So for them, it's something that they want to discuss because it wasn't in the contract. We're basically coming back and asking for leniency that goes beyond original contract terms. So even though it's not a lot for Monomoy, it is for the other towns. So that's why we have to go through the process of making sure that it's copacetic for all of the contractees. Did that answer your question at all? I feel like you're still puzzled.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why it wasn't that isn't factored in.
Because we really thought that round 2 was going to be huge, and we wouldn't have to collect an adder on round 1. Round 2 ended up dwindling down to a scant few projects, and so it didn't provide the income that we had anticipated. So we had to go back and reevaluate the decision that was made not to have an adder on round 1, because frankly it was an unwise decision. So we've had to beg forgiveness and go back and ask for support on those projects, which frankly, it doesn't make sense to have allowed them to go forward without a support way to pay for them. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Anybody else have any thoughts, questions?
Liz, do you have a motion?
Yeah, so the motion would be to authorize the school superintendent to agree to a memorandum of agreement for the FY20 round 1 adder at a quarter of a penny per kilowatt hour. I'm sure you can say it.
I want to hear Terry say that again.
Okay. The motion is, and a so moved will probably work, and I'll fill in the blanks with Leah. It's a motion to authorize the school superintendent to approve a memorandum of agreement for a round 1 FY20 adder in the amount of a quarter penny per kilowatt hour.
Well said.
Very good.
You could say so moved.
So moved.
There you go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Say motion carries.
I'm still thinking about the
No, say motion carries, otherwise it's,
strategic plan.
no, say motion carries.
Oh, motion carries.
You're in.
I do have another thought, but I'm gonna not. I'll try to divorce that. All right, motion carries, sorry. Strategic plan update.
Just a quick update. So we are in the process of having the steering committee meet every Monday and Wednesday from 4:30 to 6 as we review the information that was collected at the community forum and other data, and we'll start wordsmithing. I believe we're sort of at that place that Monday will be wordsmithing as a group, and ideally within the next week or two we'll be ready to bring a draft back to the committee. The 15 members of the steering committee, we have Sherry Ann Armstrong, Joe Celio, one of our school committee members, Sherry's Monomoy educator, Principal Burkhead here at the high school, myself, Charles Gruska here, a community member who's also a retired educator. We have Dr. Jill Lombardo, who's a parent and a psychologist, Melissa McGuire, Dr. Millen, our Chatham Elementary principal, Mary Oldak, our Harwich Elementary principal, parent and educator Julie Santoni, Joanne Sheehan, school committee member, Mark Smith, our director of curriculum, Ms. Stout here, a school committee member, Laura Weatherup, who's a Monomoy educator, and Principal Wilson are rounds out the committee of 15 that are working on this. What we've done so far as our process is reviewed the unabridged table notes from each of the tables at the community forum. We wanted to look for themes or ideas that may not have surfaced during the summary portion of the community forum day. We tried to capture all the themes that were in the notes or that were part of the summary activity. coupled to that data that each of the building principals have shared about their school. We've also had each of the principals audaciously discuss with the group if the constraints of funding or time were lifted, how would they change things in their building to improve learning and teaching, and that time and funding were two of the things that kind of came up again and again in several different ways when it came to people at the community forum suggesting how our schools could be improved, or if they had an audacious view of what we should think about in terms of education. At our last meeting, individuals were sharing their ideas in terms of what they have seen as overarching themes within all of that information. So we're starting to develop this sort of set of sort of big ideas that will narrow down over the course of the next couple weeks into sort of a handful of ideas that we would then have as our strategic objectives in the plan moving forward, and start to come up with a way or a set of action items to achieve each of those over the next 3 to 5 years. So that's an update on the strategic plan.
Thank you. And the budget process, do we have any, are you doing that?
Sure. So in your packets is a budget timeline that sort of walks through. Katie's done a nice job of putting this together in terms of the benchmarks or the timeline that we have to hit as we get through. We've now shifted gears completely, and we have left fiscal year FY19, and we've moved into FY20 before the end of October. But starting next week, we will be meeting with each of the administrators as they look at their budgetary needs for their building for the upcoming school year, because we have to go through this process. I mean, it seems on some level surreal that you're in the end of October talking about the upcoming school year out there, but we have to go through this process now so that we can develop a budget and have that ready to discuss with the town managers and finance directors, and ultimately to bring back to our town boards at assorted meetings. At the end of the day, we need to have our budgets back to our towns in the middle of December is when we need to kind of let them know what our what number we're looking at, and they will in the intervening weeks here be letting us know what number, what budgetary increase they can support on for the town of Chatham and the town of Harwich. So we have those things at play. We also have clearly we have a contract that we need to settle with our teachers association that will impact that budget, but we also have transportation costs that are a bit of a wild card at the moment. So we have a bid going out to hopefully secure a transportation vendor for next school year, and that will play into what ultimately the FY20 budget looks like too.
Okay, thank you. Any subcommittee reports? Okay. Well, back to the superintendent.
Well, I don't have anything to report other than that it would be nice to have our meeting end sooner so we can hopefully get out and experience the football game and the completed concession stand with plumbing out there. So there's a home football game going on right now, but we were hoping to have the concession stand all ready and opened up with the bathroom facilities in time for homecoming, but that didn't happen, but it's there, ready to go, and I'd encourage everybody at the end of the meeting to maybe take a wander across the way and see the work of sort of the completed work that remember a number of community volunteers went and got that facility upright, and we hired a contractor to come in and really finish up the plumbing and the interior sheetrock. But it's nice to have that available as a community resource moving forward. And at our next school committee meeting, we will also need to bring up the regional agreement again. We had conversations last year about the regional agreement and some minor wordsmithing that we needed to look at. But as we're going through our budget conversations with the towns, we have the regional agreement that we need to bring back to the towns, and we also have something else that's on the vote or to vote on tonight. We also have our lease agreement that we have been including into conversations with the select boards, but there's some wordsmithing that needs to kind of be revoted when it comes to the regional lease with the towns.
Okay. So that brings us to action items, approval of the prior year invoice for $60. I have a motion for that.
I move that we approve that prior year's invoice for $60.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
We have another one, too.
Yeah. And the...
No, another invoice.
Not on the agenda. Yeah. Okay, and I also need a motion for the invoice for the medals and awards for $76.95. Oops, $81 and $76.95.
I move to approve us paying the bill for the medals for $76.95.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now we can revote the amended. The other action item would be to revote the amended lease agreement. And,
Madam Chair, I have the
oh, thank you.
renewed motion. I will attempt to make it as clear as possible. Thank you, Leah. Motion to amend the lease agreement between the towns of Chatham and Howard and the Monomoy Regional School District signed October 2012 as presented. The points of discussion are the following. There are 5 of them. 1, vote taken and approved at the October 11, 2018 meeting to amend the lease agreement. 2, the town of Chatham's council made changes after that vote was taken. 3, Monomoy's council reviewed revisions made by Chatham and approves of changes made. 4, revote needed to revote the amended lease agreement. And lastly, there's a copy of the amendment by Chatham Lease provided in the packets.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. With that, then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Onward to the concession stand.
Scott. I know that
Good night, all.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.